and welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and in today's tutorial we are going to explore the Holiday Striped Throw by redheart.com. It's a free pattern. I'll provide a link in the more information of this video, and I have a lot to say about this one because this Afghan really surprised me. When I received the sample of this particular project, I was like, okay, it's just double crochet. It's very easy, quick, easy tutorial, no problem. And then I thought to myself, you know, it's going to be good. So I did this sample. This is a mini version of what we're doing today. I have to practice off camera so that I can do it for you. And then I realized that I was missing the whole element. My eyes weren't going to some of the really nice details that are in this Afghan. And it's something I think the picture does not do this one justice at all, because when we really look at how the project is working together, you can come up with some amazing color coordinations with this. I have to tell you, I've been with Red Heart for a while and I have been looking at their patterns. I have not seen a border this fabulous on redheart.com that I personally have worked with. This border, literally when you look at it, we would all do the regular work in between that you can see here, but look how thick this border is, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, whenever I do an Afghan I always do like a little cheap little border, I'm satisfied with it. This border, in my opinion, is the best border I have seen in years, and I'm going to be taking you through step by step today. I'm going to show you the ins and outs of this one because there's actually a pattern going on here. It looks random, but it's really not. I've kind of deviated a bit in my sample because I was misreading the instructions, but that's the whole point here, is that I was able to play with my creativity, and look how the border just came together. Oh my God, it's fabulous. So today I'm going to take you through a little bit more before we start this project. So here's a closer up version of my miniature. Isn't this really cute? I'm going to show you today on how to be able to change the sizes if you'd like a placemat. This is fabulous. Totally accident. I just wanted to make a smaller version so I understood the pattern, but this is absolutely wonderful. So with me with Christmas, I really like my colors either to be like Father Christmas kind of ideas without the red and the greens, or I like the traditional, more traditional colors of Christmas. It's just a personal preference for me. But what I'm going to tell you today is that just because this is a Christmas Afghan doesn't make you have to do a Christmas Afghan. I think this pattern and other colors would be phenomenal. I really do. So what we're going to do live on camera, I have not planned this as far as coloring strategic. I'm going to just see how it works up. But Daniel came up with, our Diva Dan basically came up with a color palette that he calls Santa's Toy Shop, and it's basically using the Red Heart Super Savers, and what we have is light gray, Aran, turquoise, light blue, and cherry red. Now as a combo, it looks amazing together. So the red is obviously going to be very much of an accent color, so we're going to play around with that. So what we want to do is let's put Diva Dan to the test while we're doing this whole thing and see if we can get this Christmas Afghan to really represent Santa's Toy Shop. So without further ado, let's grab our crochet hook today. We are using a size F or a size 3.75 millimeter crochet hook today, and just follow the instructions for the amount of yarn that you will need for this particular project. And let's start working on this Afghan right now. So let's begin. We're going to create a slip knot. I keep a generous tail so that I could sew it in afterwards so that I have the most perfect starting. Let's create a slip knot. So this is what I'm going to tell you. You can either create the size that's in the project or you can change it. So it says with A, which means color, it says chain 152, blah blah blah. So that chaining of 152, I worked it out that if you chain in sets of 4, you will end up with an Afghan that always works. So for example, that's how my little Afghan that I have works, is that it was in chains of 4. So what I would do if I were you, you could either do the 152, but if maybe you wanted to do a child size version, you just have to make sure that the chain is going to be long enough for you when you go to do it. So what I would recommend to you is that we just chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it long enough? Yes or no? If not, just add another 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and continue like that until you get to the size that you want to go. 2, 3, and 4. So just make your chain as long as you want to. Even if you want to do a larger double-side bedspread, just do enough on your chain so that it'll have the distance. So this is the width of your Afghan. So you can just lay it down. It doesn't shrink really, and it doesn't grow. So whatever your chain is what you'll end up with. So just continue to do that. 3 and 4, and then 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is going to be the size of my sample today. So let's begin to work on the rest of row number 1 together, and it says to 2 double crochets, 4th chain from the hook. So what I'm going to recommend to you is that normally in the tutorials lately in 2014 I've been telling you to turn over the hook. This one I would not recommend that. I would totally not recommend it at all. So you're going to count back 1, 2, 3 and 4. So you're going to go to the 4th and just double crochet 2 more times into there. I found when I turned it over on my sample that I had a large gap, and it was very obvious, and I regretted doing it. So then I'd recommend not turning it over and making sure that you have 2 strings within your chain. So what we're going to do then, it says to chain 1 and then skip 3 chains and then 3 double crochets in the next. So we're just going to chain 1. So what I want you to know here is that this here is all working together like all together. So it looks like it's kind of bent down, but in actual fact just visualize it up. So you're going to chain 1 and then skip over 3. 1, 2 and 3. Go to the 4th, and then you're going to put 3 double crochets in again. And it's creating like a V shape really. And you're going to do that all the way across. So this is 2, this is 3. So we have chain 1 and then you do it again. So 1, 2, 3, go to the 4th for another. So regardless on what size you have, this is going to work out as long as you kept it in the groups of 4. So it's nice to be able to figure out what stitch counts work out to be, just because everybody is unique. Some people would like smaller versions, maybe a beautiful lapgan for somebody in a wheelchair. You don't have to do it the size of the throw because it may be too big. So continue to do that same process. So you put 3 in, you chain 1, skip over 3, go to the 4th, and then another 3 double crochets, and we'll meet you back in just a moment. Now we're coming up all the way over to the other side, and the last stitch, so when I skip over my 3, the last stitch is going to get 3 double crochets as well. So that just tells me that my grouping of 4 worked out perfectly. So that's how I figured that out when I originally did it. So what we're going to do now is that you'll notice that every line of the afghan in the upper direction is a different color, so that I'm not going to drag the gray over another color at this point. What I tried to do, just as a tip for you, is that I tried to actually join the next yarn and then kind of weave in the ends as I was going. I don't recommend that on this one. It does say to fasten off. I would totally fasten off. I tried it the other way and it just got really sloppy. So what I do here at this point is that I just pull it through like this to lock it, and then what I just want to do is just weave the ends in. These ends are going to get caught into the next stitching around on the next level. So if you just weave it in maybe a couple inches over, then you're not going to worry about this item coming loose at any point. And what I'm going to do for this point is that I'm showing you how I'm doing it here, but I'm not going to show you for the remainder of this project, just to save yourself some time when watching this tutorial. So basically I would then cut it. You can either go the next level and then cut it, or cut it now. And what I would do at this point too, this is the base, I would probably hide this one in as well, because you're eventually going to have to anyway. We're going to be doing a border, and because we're doing a border, this is pretty much going to get hidden anyway, so you don't really have to worry about being too fussy about it as well. Just just get it nice and cleaned up so you can not worry about it and it's not in your way. So let's I'm going to trim those ends off, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to join the next yarn. Okay, so here's my base here, and this is where I ended, and I have weaved in my ends. And so we just got to remember that when we do that, we just got to make sure we turn it around before we join the next yarn. So here is my tip for joining the next yarn. Create a slip knot first, and because we're doing a border around this, you can really not be sloppy, but you can be a little more lazy about it. So what we want to do is that we want to come into the very top of the beginning stitch, okay, and we want to join it. So just pull through and through like this. And what I would recommend for you at this point is that we have to single crochet into the same spot. So we have to chain 1 first. So just grab both of the strings, okay, and pull through, and then single crochet into that same spot where you joined. And what I've just done here is that that loose end is now going to get really stuck into this position, so I can safely trim it afterward. And then, so I'm just moving the straggler out of the camera view, but it's just roughly in behind, but I'm going to trim that afterward. And simply we're just going to chain one now, and we come into the other side of the grouping of 3 and just put in 1 single crochet. We're now going to chain 1. We're jumping over the gap space and come immediately into the first one that you're running into, the first double crochet, and then chain 1. We then come into the other side of that whole grouping of 3 and single crochet and chain 1. See, are you following the pattern? So this is the next grouping of 3, so we've already chained 1, so we're just going to single crochet, chain 1, and single crochet on the other side of that grouping of 3. Now during my sample, I'm just going to continue this along. During my sample, what I did is that I accidentally missed one of these. I just kind of went, instead of getting into the end of this, I went immediately into the first. It does make a difference, so make sure that you do follow the instructions and just really watch your stitching, and ensuring basically that every group of 3 has 2 single crochets sitting into the top of it on either side. So just chain 1. So this blue here at this point is only for one line. If you're doing a larger afghan, like I'm always going to be changing colors in this because the sample is so small, but in a larger afghan, you know, it really is not a big deal. You actually get a good leverage for it. Remember on the ends that the last one here, even though it's a chaining of 3 that we started with, remember how we did says go to 4th chain from the hook. This is what this is. Make sure you do come to the top of the chain, but not into the gapping space, but just into the top, and we want to fasten this off again. So I'm going to fasten off camera. I'll come back in just a moment. So I'm back again to show you a quick tip, and here the burgundy is the starting line that we started with. As you can see, the borders underneath, and so here's the burgundy, and essentially what we've just done with the turquoise, the blue, is that we've just created this area here. What I want to show you here is that, see this grouping of 3? This one sits right on top of it. The next one sits right on top of it. If you follow it, these go up in a straight line. If you can see that in this pattern, this is what makes it really easy to be able to rip off this pattern, because the fact is that you just have to look for the obvious spaces. So this appears to be up and down and then gone up and down, and that's because this is hiding it. So it really is kind of deceptive on how we do it. But there's more to this pattern than just this, this, and this, because eventually we're going to come to the pattern and there will be 2 single crochet lines on top of each other, and that is just creating a little bit of an effect so that it comes to be really amazing. So let's continue along. So I'm about to start off with the cherry red. I'm just dying to get it in here, and what I need you to do is that I need you to go into the joining spot right here. Okay, this is where the last stitch went in, and we want to join it, and I want to do the same technique that I just did with the turquoise, is that I want to really hide that loose end in. So I want to make sure I grab all of it so that it's on the edge. Remember, the border is going to go around this, so I want to join it, which I just did, and we have to chain up 3, and I'm going to use both strings. 1, okay, 2, and 3. So now I can safely cut that loose end out. Now I tried actually going across the top and just kind of burying it, but when the colors are so different from each other, it doesn't really work. So what I want to do is that I want to come into this gapping space right here, the chain 1. It's in the middle of the chaining of 3, or sorry, middle of the 3 double crochets. Because it's in the middle, is that we are going to stay in the middle, so we're only going to do 2. So this is how we start our edging all the time when we're using this kind of stitch. Okay, so we come in the edge and then we just only put 2. We then do exactly what we've already done with the gray here. We chain 1, okay, and then we immediately just look for the middle of the next and just follow it up, and you're going to put 3 double crochets in. Just like so. So then we chain 1 and then look again for the next one. So you're going to do that all the way across. Now in this tutorial today, I'm going to be taking you to the repeat pattern of doing that, because there is a line that is slightly different where we start putting 2 of these singles on top of each other to create a really interesting effect, and I want to make sure that you do understand that before we start doing any kind of border work at that point. So continue this line, we'll meet you back, and we'll change colors again and do something different. When you get to the other side, you're just going to do your 3 double crochets right into the very edge, just like so. If you would like to balance it, if you feel that that's not a great move, you know, you can always ad-lib a little bit. Because I've started off on the edge and I grabbed it in the edge, I'm going to do that as well. I'm just going to come in and my 3rd double crochet will be right into an edge just to keep it balanced. Doesn't say to do that, but that to me makes sense. You're not going to change any of the stitch counts, but it'll just look a little more consistent for you. So let's begin. I'm going to fasten off and bring on another color. Okay, we're about to start row number 4, and 4 is just a repeat of what you already know in row number 2, it says. So this is number 2 here with this turquoise, and so essentially I just want to come into the very edge again, just like we've already done before, and I want to join in my yarn. So just pull it through. Okay, I'm going to just put 2 strings together. There's nothing worse than strings calling out, and then single crochet into that same one. Okay, and I'm going to pull everything tight. Now what I want to do is that I want to chain 1 and then just come onto the last one here. And simply just do what we already know. So we chain 1, come to the first grouping of the 3, chain 1, on the second side of that, chain 1, the next group of 3, chain 1, next group of 3, and do that all the way across. So that will be row number 4. And when I come back, I'll have this fastened off and ready for row number 5. So let's do row number 5, and it's a repeat of row number 3, which is essentially these double crochets that you're doing. So we're going to come in and we're just going to attach. And because we have to do the building up, when we go to chain 3 to start, I'm going to wrap both yarns around so that I trap them both in position. That was 2, and there's 2, and then 3, and then I can safely trim that loose end out, leave it out to the side, and then put in 2 double crochets then into the gapping space, the chain 1 gapping space right over top. And you already know how to do this line. There is a repeat pattern going on in this, and I really want to get you to that point. So we're going to chain 1 to reach over and then come right above the middle one here. Like that. And we're going to put in our 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then again in the middle. So do that and then fasten off, and we'll bring back another color. I just want to also remind you too, when you get onto the other side, remember how I ad-libbed a little bit with putting that one out to the side? I would recommend, if you're going to do that, do it with all of them when you're doing these particular rows. I think it just looks a lot more consistent. It doesn't say to do that, but you know, you live, you learn. So just make sure that you continue to do that all the way across and then fasten off, and therefore it'll look perfect on both sides. So let's start row number 6 together. We're going to come on the outside and join the yarn as always. Row number 6 is the same as row number 2, which is these little single crochets. After this row, this is when the pattern slightly changes to create a pattern effect. So I've joined it, and I'm going to use both strings to chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet in like that to lock it, and then I can deal with that later. And then chain 1, come onto the other side here, chain 1, and come into the first one of the grouping of 3. And again, I'm just being very sporadic. I'm not actually don't have a plan with the colors. I just want to see how it works out. I was really happy with the first one that I did, that I'm thinking, okay, well, is it beginner's luck, or is it just it worked out really good? So I don't want to over plan this, because I really kind of think it would be amazing to strategize it a little bit more. So in row number 7 is where we're going to change things up a little bit and create a different look, and this is what makes this Afghan really unique, and then if you don't really look at the pattern, you'll never see that this is happening. So here's the secret to this pattern. When we started off, we're going to have 3 groups. Okay, so we're going to have 1, 2, and 3, and then what I'm about to show you now is that we've just finished this this green here that's darker, and we're about to start the lighter green, and you will see that this here, these are the same stitches, but we're just going to be playing around a little bit. Then we're going to come to one group of the 3 again, and then we're going to do another 2 together, and then the repeat pattern is basically 1 2 and 3 again, and then we repeat exactly. So when you can really look at this, so you're thinking to yourself you're gonna have to keep reading instructions, just look for this 1 2 3. This is where you have the double lines going across of the single, and then 1 and then double again, and then 1 2 and 3, and then that is the repeat pattern. It just makes it for a very interesting look. So that's how you could do that. So let's begin the special row of number 7, and this is when we start making 2 of the lines. So the single crochets, there's gonna be doubling up on each other. So what we're going to do is that we're going to attach it to the very first single crochet. We're going to chain 1, and whoops, and you know what I want to do is I want to make sure that I get that straggler in there so I can really lock it into position. Okay, so we're going to chain 1 and then single crochet into that same stitch. So now we're prepared to go across. So to do this line, oh my god, it's so simple. Watch this. You're going to chain 1 and you're just going to match it to the next single crochet that you find. So this gapping of chaining ones in the red is also matching this one here. So we're going to chain 1, go into the next red, chain 1, go into the next red. See? It's really, really easy. So if you can get that concept, it's great. So this is row number 7. It's really not a no-brainer. So when we come back, I'll get you on row number 8, because row number 8 we have to do one of these again before we do a double line, just like so. And of course in the end you make sure that you go right into the final one before fastening off so that everything is matching each other. Remember here, this is that chaining of 1 and single crochet, so don't mistake that for being 2. Just to be very aware of that, or your afghan will be coming out of alignment. So let's fasten off, I'll come right back. Okay, for row number 8 we are just going to do these large double crochets again, and it's just like we've already been doing before. We just want to make sure that we just get into the right stitch. So again, we're going to come right into the edge first to join. Okay, and I'm going to grab my straggler and just chain up 3. So 1 2 and 3. Eventually you'll start making the stragglers like almost a perfect length that you don't have to cut. Now the next 2 are right into the first gap, the chain 1 gap. So those are 2 double crochets. So it's already what you know, and then we chain 1, and then we just, you can either follow it up, look for the blue, or just, you know, skip 1 and then go to the second. I would recommend that you really do a combination of both to make sure that you're not going out of alignment. I think the accent color in this one could actually be this turquoise. I thought it might have been the red, but I think it's the turquoise that is going to be it. So again, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, and do that all the way in. Let's change our colors when we get back and start another round or another row. Okay, on the very edge, just want to make sure that you do follow that same procedure if you're going to ad-lib a bit on the pattern. This is the last time I'm going to show you that, so I'm going to assume that you're going to know that every time you hit it. And so basically let's fasten off there, and we're going to do 2 layers of these single crochets again to satisfy that, and then essentially once we do that, then the pattern is going to repeat. So 1 2 3, and then double, and then 1, and then 1 double, and then 1 2 3. And let's be right back. I'll just fasten this off. Okay, we're doing row number 9 now, and essentially 9 and 10 are essentially what you're doing right here. It's the same thing. So if you can get that, it's great. We're just going to join everything together. We chain 1. So we're just doing a single crochet line. What I would recommend is really look at the colors. I spend a little bit of time off camera just to kind of look at the colors and see what I'm missing. You know, sometimes the art is actually just looking to see where things go. So I've just done my starting, so we're just going to chain 1, come to the other side of that, and single crochet, chain 1, and do the same thing all the way across. Just, you already know how to do this. So when we come back, we'll start another another row of what we're doing right now, and that will conclude off the repeat of this pattern. And so you can carry on and do whatever you want. You know, honestly, when I looked at this really carefully, you could do this double line anywhere you really wanted to. It's not going to impact the pattern as far as you know, of throwing it out of alignment. So you can actually have a lot of fun with that. You can space out so that maybe you want, instead of 3, maybe you want 4, maybe you only want 2. You can really play a lot with the ideas with this particular afghan. So this is row number 10. This is where the repeat pattern on this row after this row stops, and then you can just repeat again. So you already basically know what you're doing at this point, and you're just going to join the yarn. You're just going to chain 1 and then single crochet into the same one. So now you're just going to do exactly what you did here where you were 2 lines on top of each other. Chain 1 and just follow it along. So this blue here, you can see that it's into the other blue. That is the next one here. Or you skip a stitch. You can, either way you want to eye it up. So you have a chain 1 here, you just chain 1 there. You're just matching everything. Now this whole concept of doing this single crochet all the way around, all the way across like this, it actually exists on the border. So it's good to actually understand this now, because it's something that you will be doing and playing on the border, because that's what makes that border so cool. So continue to do that. So when I come back, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be further ahead. I'm going to do another repeat pattern off camera, because you obviously know what you're doing, and we're going to start the border work after that. So I'm going to sit back, just work on some crochet behind the scenes here, and then I'll come back and show you how to do the border. So here is a sample, and what I need to tell you at this point before you start the border, remember I've already given you the secret number of 4, that if you are customizing this for yourself, all I need to tell you is that the last line before you're doing the border must be the 3 double crochets in a row, like this. You can't end on a single crochet, because then the next part of the border that's going to go around is not going to make it look good. So what I need to also do now is that I need to determine what color is going to go around first, and what I strongly recommend is that it's not the same color as what you have here or here. So when we go and look at the actual sample that I did last night, what we have here is that I went around with the brown. I decided that I really wanted to choose a color that really could bury in any kind of imperfections that may be there, just in case you have that. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to use probably, I can't use light blue. I'm thinking I'm just going to use the turquoise just to give it an edging. You're going to notice at this point, this Afghan, you know, it looks okay here, but this looks amazing, and it's the border that really totally kicks this into high gear. So let's begin. Let me grab my turquoise and let's get started. To begin, we need to look at the upper left corner and make sure that it's turned up so that this is the way that you've been crocheting. You've been crocheting up, go to the upper left corner, and we're going to work our way down the seam on this side, across the bottom, and back up all the way around. So what we need to do is that we just need to go into the very corner stitch here, and we want to establish our first corner. So to do this, we're going to attach our yarn, and we can actually bury this in the straggler like we could properly if you really want to. And so I'm just going to pull through and through just to attach it like this, chain 1, and then single crochet into the same stitch. Okay, sorry, I'm dropping my stitches here. And then I need you to chain 2, 1 and 2, and go back into the same stitch. We've actually just created the first corner. So down the one edge here, we need to just kind of eye it out, just really kind of look for it. So to do this, we chain 1 and we look along, and we just kind of eye it up and make it sure it's consistent. I'm just going to come into the side and single crochet, chain 1, okay, and I'm just going to move further down, okay, and then chain 1, moving further down, and do that all the way down. Now if you add too many stitches, you're going to get a ruffle look. You want to try to prevent that. You also, I just went around a post just like this. Not a good idea. You want to make sure you get into the side of a chain and not actually into a gapping space, because it will pull it apart. So just continue to work it down. There's no exact science. There's just it's just making it look good as you go. And essentially it may appear a little bit warped as you're going all the way around as well. Don't worry about it. It will probably settle down, but if you really think it's a problem, this is the time to adjust it, because once you get a few rounds around this, it's no going back unless you want to frog everything back out. So let me get back to the bottom corner, and then I'll show you what to do next. When you get to the bottom corner, you got to remember that when we started, we had the chain 4, and then we came over and started our double crochets. You got to remember that this bottom piece is the corner right here. So we want to make sure we get there. So there is your corner. So you're going to single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet like so. So we're along the bottom piece now here, and what you need to do is that you need to crochet within the actual stitch work itself. So only down the sides are you doing the chaining one. On the bottoms and the tops you are just, so along the chain you are going to single crochet into each of the stitches. You're not going to do that chaining of one. You've only done that down the side, and you're going to do this all the way across. You're going to follow the same principle going back up the other side, which is the side, chain one, single crochet, chain one, single crochet. You're then going to turn a corner again and then come along the top here and single crochet into each one of those. So that's how you would do completing round number one. Continue to do that, and I'll come back and I'll show you what to do next. So I'm now coming all the way back around, and I want to get to the very last stitch like so. So this one here is where I joined. You can see 1, 2, so this is right, and so I just want to slip stitch to the first one that I started with like this. And so now in row number 2, or round number 2 of the border, we're just going to turn our work. So we're not going to fasten off, and what we're going to do is that we just immediately chain one and start single crocheting back in the other direction. It's kind of odd, isn't it? It actually works out really good. So when you get to the corners, what you have to do in the corner space, you put single crochet for one single crochet, and then chain two and one single crochet into each of the corners as you go around, and you just match the single crochets together, and this is what thickens up this border with providing a nice tight and even look. So when we come back, we're going to start off, we're going to finish up round number 2, and then we're going to begin round number 3. So we've now come all the way back around, and we are just into the final corner. Remember that when we started this round we were actually just off by 1. Okay, and so you just want to finish that final corner before you fasten off, and then just slip stitch it here, and we're going to fasten off. So I'm now going to bring on red. I'm going to fasten it on to any corner, so that's that chain 2 in the corner, and I'm just going to wrap it like so and begin. So I'm going to chain 1 first, and I am actually going to be creating the actual corner first. So we're just going to single crochet and then chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, coming into the same corner. Oops, that was kind of like a slip stitch. So now we have the corner loop in there. I know it's hard to see, but it's there. And now I want to chain 1. I want to skip the first single crochet, go to the second for a single crochet, and then I want to chain 1, skip the next one, go to the second, and do that all the way around. So on the corners, when you hit the corners of these ones here, it's going to be single crochet, chain 3, single crochet on every corner, and then just make sure that you chain 1 and then skip 1 and single crochet along all 4 sides of this, and this is actually relatively easy. I want to give you a little brief tip here too. It's not happening to me, but if it was, this is where you need to fake it a little bit. Say for example you never got the right quantity in order to keep this pattern going. So all you're just going to do is that if this were me, and for example I have to skip 1 and go to the second, but if there was only 1 here and then the corner, I would put it into the 1, because in the next round you'll be able to fix it at that point to make it really consistent. So you know, some of the tricks are basically understanding how you do it. When you get to the corners, make sure that you chain 1 first and then single crochet and then chain 3 and single crochet back into the same corner. So this is where you start faking it in order to make it work, because once you can get the consistency here, this here is a dominant line color, so you'll want it to look good as best as possible, and this is the spot that you'll do it at. So to continue the corner, after the corner just chain 1, again single, and then just carry along as normal. So just following my own advice, I just came along the top. I was short by 1, so I literally had 1 instead of 2 to do this. I just put it so these 2 are actually into the next stitch of each other. You can barely tell that's even happening, but it's a great way to avoid having to frog your work, to do anything crazy by pulling everything that you just did just because of this line. So if you know how to fake it, you can make it. And when you get back all the way around, make sure that you do chain 1 before doing the slip stitch to join that. So let's fasten off. So we just finished right here, and now we're about to turn our work. We want to turn to the wrong side, and basically we want to make sure that we're continuing to keep it balanced as we're going all the way around. We simply just want to go into a corner. Doesn't matter which corner as long as you choose one. No, obviously. So what I want to do is that we want to fasten on, chain 1, and then come into that corner for 3 single crochets. This time when we do corners, we're no longer going to do the chaining of anything. We're just going to put in 3 single crochets in, and then we're going to put a single crochet into the first single crochet, and then this is the chain 1 gap right here. We want to put a single crochet right into that gapping space. This is what makes those turn like dots, like polka dots, or not polka dots, like dotted lines. So then we go into the next one. Oh, I think I missed that one. We go into the next single crochet, and then we go into the next chain 1 gap space, and this will turn those into dots as we go around. So continue to do that. Make sure in the corners that you put in 3 single crochets before proceeding around. When you get all the way back around, make sure that you don't miss any stitches as you're joining everything together, and then remember to slip stitch it to where the beginning there, and this will end this around color. And we're going to come back. You know, I've been giving some thought as I've been going all the way around. I don't think I want to put 2 rows of red opposite to each other. I think I'm gonna play with it, and you know, that's probably expected, so I'm gonna do the unexpected and just randomly select something. I think I've decided that my exterior of this whole thing is going to be gray though, so maybe we'll see what happens. So just fasten off, and we're going to turn our project again around and just join to another corner and begin once again. So we're now going to begin, and we need to get to the center of the 3 single crochets on the outside corner, and we're going to join. I'm just going to grab my straggler again, just pull up, and I want to basically put a single crochet in to that same spot, and I want to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3, and then come into the same spot. Okay, so there is my next corner. So in one element here we had the gapping space. This one we didn't, this one we do. So we're going to continue exactly what we've done on the red. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip the first stitch and go to the second, and then chain 1 and do the same thing. So skip. So the corners then, as we come around, will all then be single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, and when we come back I'll have that done for you. And we're now on the final corner. Make sure you chain 1 before slip stitching. Now we're gonna finish this off. I'm going to fasten off. I still have a few more rounds to do on this particular project. No big deal. Now the next 2 rows are the same color. We're not going to be fastening off at all. Actually, in the entire project, the rest of the rows are actually the same color. But I would really strongly recommend that you play with it. Why not? You only live once, right? But in what I'm going to tell you is that in the next one we're going to come around, and then we're going to turn and go back in the direction that which we came. So you'll want it to be the same color. So just carefully decide what you want to do, and you can really start seeing that the borders are really starting to take effect here and really providing a really nice outlook at this point. So let me just think about this a little bit. I'll be right back with another color. So this is where I finished off. I now want to turn my project the other way around and just come into any corner, and exactly what we've already done with this white is what we're doing on this round again. So we're just going to come right into a corner, and we're just going to attach, and then using the straggler again, and we want to single crochet 3 times into that same corner spot. So you already know how to do this. This is what we've already done, and this just really helps gives those polka dots, because we really don't see it yet. We see it once, but this blue will turn into polka dots too. So we got 3 into the corner. The next stitch is a single crochet, and the next stitch then will be the gapping spaces in between. So you want to make sure that you're single crocheting into every single crochet plus single crochet around the gap, and then this will turn this blue into beautiful polka dots as you go all the way around. So what I want you to just do is just match everything to what you have. When you hit a gap space, just go right into it. There's another there, and then here's the gap. So continue to do that all the way around, and then on the corners remember 3 single crochets on the corner piece, and when we come back we'll start it again. Now when we come back we're going to turn and go in the other direction, so I'm going to keep the turquoise going for the next round as well. So we're just finishing up here. We want to make sure we grab everything that we got going on, and we come right to the end, and we want to slip stitch just like so. Now it doesn't say to do this in the pattern, but I would really recommend it, is that we're slightly one off from the corner, and that's normal. So we want to make sure that I'm just gonna slip stitch one over just like this. Okay, and what I want to do is that I want to turn my work. Okay, so by turning the work, then we can just do it. So here's what I propose that we do. This is exactly what it says in the pattern. We need to chain 3 first, 1, 2, and 3, and then I want to put 2 more double crochets into that same one there. What we're actually doing in the instructions, it's called a triple shell. We're actually creating one of those, and a triple shell is 3 double crochets, so the chaining of 3 counts as 1, so there's 2 more here. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to chain 2, and then coming back into the same spot, we're going to then just put 3 more double crochets into that same spot. It gets a little tight in there. Yeah, so let's do that. So this is where the pattern really gets interesting. So let's finish that. So what we need to do then is that we need to skip 2 stitches. So you can really look at it here. So I got 1, 2, go to the third one over and single crochet, and you're going to skip 2 again, 1, 2, and that's going to be a double shell. And a double shell is 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. We're going to do this all the way across and around this whole thing. So we want to skip 2 and then come to the third, single crochet down, and then again 1, 2, go to the third. So I want you to do that. I'll meet you back up at the first corner where I'll show you what to do. You may need to ad lib at this point in order to get it if your counts are not perfect, but you know what, that's the whole beauty of creativity, is that if you know how to do it, it works for you. So this is exactly what we're trying to create at this moment. So I'm coming up to my first corner here. It just happens to work out that I got the right stitch count. If it didn't, I would make sure that when I finish my last shell, I would make sure that there's an even space between the single crochet and when you start the corner. When you get to the corner, you're just going to go to the middle one of the 3 and do the triple shell. And the triple shell, and just a reminder, is 3 double crochets in, and then we're going to follow it up with the chain 2, 1 and 2, and then 3 again. So the art is knowing where to ad lib on the pattern to make it work for you. That's the bottom line of creativity generally. You know, it's in a real world, everybody counts the same, everybody ends up with the same, but well, that's in a fantasy world. The real world is that we're all unique and we do make mistakes. So we're going to skip over 2 once we get this triple shell done. Skip 2, single crochet in, and then again start the doubles. So 1, 2, and then go and start the double shells once again, and do that all the way around. When we meet back up, I am going to change the color. I didn't on the original at this point, but I'm going to change the color just because I'm allowed to, and because it's my project. I'll be right back. So I've come all the way back around, and I've got my single crochet in, and I just want to slip stitch it to the beginning of what we just did there with the triple shell. So what it says to do at this point, it says to turn the work if you're going to use the same color, and then you basically want to double crochet into the very first single crochet, and then you want to do your shell work. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change my colors. So when I come back, I'm going to change my colors and then start, because I think it'd be kind of cool just to see what it's going to look like. And I'm just going to put in an X. I'm going to put in the red one more time. I'm really gung-ho over that. So let me just do that. I'll come back in just a moment and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, as I just said, if you were turning it, you would be double crocheting into the first single crochet. If you're changing colors, what I would do at this point is that join the color into the single crochet, and then we need to chain 3 to equal that double crochet that they originally called for. Again, this is ad-libbing. This is just, you know, because I can, right? If you understand crochet, you can do a lot of really neat things. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to put a double shell in between this double shell. So see how they come up together? We're going to do it right in there. And the double shell is 2 double crochets. Okay, chain 2 and 2 double crochet. Okay, we're not going to chain one or anything yet or at all in this one. We are simply just going to double crochet into the middle where you've done the single crochet down there. It's right directly in between the two shells. So now we just look for the next shell, look for the in between, and put another double shell there. So what I'm going to do is I'll meet you back up. Just continue to do that same process going across. I'll meet you up at the first corner where I'll show you how to turn the corner, and then we'll carry on with the rest of this tutorial. We are almost done this border at this point. It just got a couple more rounds to go. Yeah, but again, it's just you know, it's part of the atmosphere. You know, a lot of us we tend to really skip thinking about doing borders, and yet look at this one. It's amazing. I think that there's a great opportunity with these kind of afghans with using this kind of border. So I'll be right back. So now we're coming to our very first corner, and we have our double crochet in. We need to create a double shell before we start messing with this corner. So what we're going to do is that we're going to skip 1 and 2, go to the middle one of the 3, and put in another double shell. 1, 2. If you don't do this, then the whole corner is going to be out of whack. So you do that, and then what they want you to do is single crochet into the corner and then chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Go back into that corner and single crochet again. And now we're going to continue exactly. So you have this double shell going on. So what you have to just do is just count backwards. So it was in the middle. So you had the 3, it's in the middle. So just go to the middle one and do a double shell. And 1 and 2. See, we have the afghan is growing, so we have to compensate for that on the corners. Once you get that in, you're back to the single crochet down here. You're going to double crochet and then basically start up your shells once again. Please do that on all of the corners, and when we come back we'll finish off red, and we just have 2 more rounds to go to call this afghan complete. Okay, don't forget, when you come all the way back around, you are still going to have to do your corner. And one that was single crochet, 3 chains and 1 single crochet. And again, we still have the middle one to do here because we did not start in the middle of a corner. So what I'm going to do when we come back, I'm going to change colors again. And the final 2, we only have 2 more rounds to go. And I'm going to make the final 2 the same color, because the final, this is what's really deceptive, is that when you look at the real product that I have here, you don't realize there's actually 2 rounds left, because the last round is just a little like hint of slip stitching, and it is still minor, but it's what creates the really elegant look to it. So just stay here, and I'm going to fasten off, but if you don't want to change colors at this point, you don't have to. So let's come back in just a moment. So let's begin round number 9. Okay, and I just want to turn my work so your project, if you did not change color, would still be attached, and I'm going to attach this on the top of the chain 3 where I would have slip stitched. No brainer, right? Easy peasy, like this. So now, according to the instructions, it says that I have to chain 3, and it says that I need to double shell into the next chain space. Okay, so the next chain space that I'm running into here is the actual in between the double shell here. Okay, so that's what we're going to end up with. Okay, and then chain 2 right there. Okay, now it says in the next space, which is over here, this is that, remember that single crochet, chain 3, single crochet, this is that. This is going to be a triple shell. So it's going to be 3 double crochets followed by chain 2 and 3 in. Just like that. So now we just immediately look for the next space, and we are going to do another double shell. Oops. So I got 2, chain 2. Like that. Okay, and now see, this is the double crochet. Now yours may not be that obvious, but it is the double crochet that's in between the two. You're just going to double crochet right on top of it like that and match it. So basically as we go around, you're going to be matching the stitches. So the double shell is going to sit on top of a double shell, and then the double crochet is going to sit there, and then when we get to the corner again, we're going to double shell into the corner, and then the very edge is going to have a triple. And I think that I can rely on you to do that all the way around, and when we come back we'll just finalize off our final round, which is really quite easy as well. Okay, when you get all the way back around, remember that this one here that we started off with is part of, it's supposed to be like a double crochet, so we're just going to slip stitch, and now let the fun begin. This is their final revolution, so let's begin row number 10. This is looking absolutely amazing. I'm actually just floored by it. I was actually second guessing it halfway through. I'm like, oh my god, but now that I've gotten this border done this far, I am absolutely, oh, I wish this was a full-size afghan. So let's begin round number 10. We're going to begin again, and we're going to continue in the same direction, so we're just going to simply just chain 2, and we're immediately just going to stretch to the beginning, or sorry, to the middle of this double shell. We're going to come in and we're going to slip stitch and then chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and slip stitch again. Now here is the kicker of this whole thing. Only in the corner that it does chain slightly, because this gapping is too far from here to make it work. So you have to chain 2, 1 and 2, you come down to the first one of the double crochets, okay, and then just slip stitch in, okay, and then chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, come back into that spot, and then slip stitch again. And these are creating like a little nub, like a little knobbly thing. Now we chain 2, 1 and 2, and now we come into the edge. This is the corner. So the corners are slightly different. We're going to single crochet, chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, back into the corner for a slip stitch. So let's turn our work. So essentially, again, we're still on the corner element to it. This space is still too far from the outside, so you can't reach there yet. So you're going to go 1 and 2, come to the first one of the double crochets here, and slip stitch. Okay, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, slip stitch again, same area. Okay, so then you chain 2, 1 and 2, come to the middle of the double, okay, and then 1, 2, 3, and slip stitch again, and then chain 2, 1 and 2. You're now in between the two, so you're going to come down to this one here. This is your double crochet, and slip, and 1, 2, and 3, coming back in, and do that all the way around. What it's actually doing, see how it's making it more nubbly looking? It's taking the fineness or like the standard look of it and starting to create a little more interest, well, a lot more interest as far as I'm concerned. So continue that same process all the way around, and you will be officially complete this afghan. And when you get all the way back around, just make sure you slip stitch it to bring it to a conclusion, and that completes off this one. Just go through and just look for any loose tails that you may find. Again, this is an absolutely fabulous idea. It's like a little mini gan here, and I'm really excited about it, and hopefully you are too. And until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd, and we'll see ya.